activities because everybody learns differently. Because we have learning centers in the classroom or listening centers in the classroom, and you can read the same story out loud, but sometimes if they can just have it on their ears and it's just no distractions. Then they have the computers where it's just with headphones, it's just them. Some of them need that movement, some just need the hearing, and then some just need to see it, and some just need to write it. So, I think we hit all areas, so all kids will have somehow through the day or through a lesson, they'll get their need. And we've had the training of what tests do we need in place, just everything we need in place to get tiers built into it. And so you just have, it's a process. And yes, it's based on the data that we collect. We use the DRA, the developmental reading test, at the very beginning of school. That kind of determines where they are academically, where they can read.
Yeah.
And then we also give pathways to reading, which kind of fine tunes areas. And then if they don't do well on the pathways to reading or the Dibbles Next, we also give it to, and we do Ames Web Math. But if they show deficits in any of those tests that we give at the beginning and that in the winter and spring, that's how we build our tiers. If they don't, if they are not successful in those areas, then we do the PASS test or some other testing that it really pinpoints what exactly is this kid having trouble with. So you're not just working on a big scale, you're honing in on what exactly is the problem.
Many times in the whole group lesson, they kind of get the concept, but putting it from up here to on the paper is a little different, so we're able to have some para support here. Also have a group of 5 kids that are very high, so they get additional challenge in spelling words. They also have a word problem book that the other kids do not have. They also take harder assessments. They still are in here for the core, but their assessment may look different. Their numbers may be higher, just because they have the ability to do that. Also, if they are either extremely low or extremely high, we put them on what's called a student improvement plan so that their needs are being met. Also, we do ability grouping and reading, so that's somewhat differentiated in that. I don't have Jackson who's reading at a level 8 with Elijah who's reading at a level 12.
Do you change that? Does that fluctuate throughout?
Yes, and Jackson would be a good example. He was with Mrs. Dwyer and he was reading through his books easily, so Terry did a running record. He was much higher than the other kids, so he moved up in a group. They're still at a level 6. We're at a level 8, so he moved with me, and that makes it kind of easy too. Elijah,
so did he change tier groups then, or is that based off of your tier groups?
Actually, he moved guided reading groups. It wasn't necessarily tier. For example, Jackson does very well with phonics type things. We just ability group. It was too easy for him where he was at, so we just moved him out of that group to a higher group.
Okay.
And it also can go in reverse. We have another little girl, Addison, who is struggling right now at a level 6, so we will move her down a group with a group that's reading at a level 5. It makes it nice that we have first grade, 3 first grades too, because Elijah, I didn't have any other kids at a level 12, so he can go into another classroom with a group of level 12 kids.
Yeah.
Also, the computer's really nice because on 2 of our programs, like Reading Eggs, it's an IXL math. They take an entry exam, and it kind of places them at the level that they tested on, and then they go up. For example, we did measurement yesterday, and I had a little boy that couldn't figure out why he was bumped down, why he was doing kindergarten measurement. Well, it's because he did poorly on his entrance exam in that particular area. So he's got to work his way up again. So it really gets them to think too, I can't goof around on the computer because it's recording everything I'm doing.
Yeah. So can you see that? Like you track that?
Yes. I get a report every day from IXL and Reading Eggs about what they're doing.
That's cool.
Right, and they get these little icons to the side, ribbons of every time they pass a goal.
Yeah. Is
So
that
that makes
something the
good.
whole school does, or just like you do in here?
No, it was bought. It was licensed for the whole school.
When a teacher is working with a small group is probably when I see it the most. I have some experts in the building with it, and I guess I see it a lot in special education. Uh, the teacher will sit there and with those kids that have so much difference academically, but yet need to still work on the same skill. She can have a mat or whatever activity they're doing, and for example, the letters of the alphabet. She may have 4 kids stretched out there. They all need the same skill, but this one here just needs to take one letter and maybe match it to its letter, whereas this next kid may be able to handle 3 or 4 matching letters, and another kid still doesn't know the letter, so you only give him a few letters to match with that one letter. And then the other kid that's finally getting higher and higher, you can give him the whole alphabet and have him watch one to one. But yet the concept is letter recognition. So that's how you differentiate. Even if within a small group, you don't have to just do extra things. You just modify the lesson while you're in that session.
Cognitive guided instruction in math, which is the half sheets that they do, you will find that after a while they get better and better at it. Kids are just not used to showing their work. They can get an answer, write it down, but not really sure on what they expect as far as showing. And when you get to state assessments, you're going to show your work.
Yeah.
You know, they're looking at how you problem solve that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too, just to see how different kids solve it different ways. And it's sometimes really easy. You want to jump in and help them. And at first you do have to help, especially your lower 1/3. Just think of different ways to solve it. Give them manipulatives, that option. But I definitely think it has its advantages. It teaches them to think on their own.
Yeah.
Think outside the box. I don't think so. Writing is kind of the same way. You've had a writing group. You can see that it's all different levels, but your expectations, for example, for Kendall, are much different than those for like Kanye, who struggles with that. You know, I expect a lot more of Kendall when she turns in her paper than I would of Kanye.
Yeah.
Expectations are still high, and he's made a lot of gains, but he's not going to have that ability yet.
Yeah.
Classroom where you're going to have different languages spoken, you're going to have to make some major modifications with your instruction. You're going to have more, for example, Spanish around the room. I'm fortunate this year that I have all English speakers, so I don't necessarily have that roadblockness per se.
Yeah.
But Carly, if you get into a school where you're going to have some kids that their English is their second language and it's apparent in the classroom, you're going to have to make some major modifications for that. But it just, it went around, I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago. You couldn't ability group. It wasn't probably the ideal. I would hesitate. I don't think you should ability group in everything, but if you want to meet the needs of your kids and accelerate or de-accelerate, it's the best option, especially in reading.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do whole reading together as a whole group as well, but differentiate in reading groups.